Hey, what's up? Today I wanted to run through how I organize my video files for the video projects that I work on. So let's just jump right into it. So here we are inside one of my portable drives that I use for editing. I like them because they are small and low power and they don't break and they're fast and all of the good things that come with getting an SSD. So here we've got projects 2023 and 2024. I'm going to go ahead and make a new one. Projects 2025. Boom. And we can hit enter again and just get in there. Now, why do I do this? Why do I organize it by year? So a lot of people do this by client and stuff. I like it because this way, if the minute I'm like a few years into this, old stuff like 2023, I can archive that very easily, put it off onto another drive. But if I'm organizing by client, then I'm always bringing that client's old projects with me, right? And cluttering up whatever drive I'm moving around because I still want that portability, right? Because then it's not locked down to the machine. If the machine goes down, I've still got it. I can move it to another machine, whatever. But I don't have tons of baggage. I only have the current year or the year and the year before. Anything older than that, I archive it. So we're here inside of Project 125. Control Shift N is going to make a new folder. And I'm going to put today's date. So it's going to be 01/27. And that's going to be how to organize. I can spell, I promise. Enter key, enter again to jump in. Now, well, actually, before I do that, so here is where all the projects would go. Everything for that whole year. Do them by date, and they'll organize and sort automatically. So because you put the number at the start, these are going to sort because we're 01 because we're in January, and they'll just sort themselves automatically here by default because the operating system automatically sorts everything alphabetically ascending. But if it starts with numbers, it's going to do it by number first. And then it's going to do everything, and then it's going to be alphabetical. So if I had two projects on the same day, they'd be alphabetical. But beyond that, they're going to be by date. So it stays really, really organized, and it does that automatically. We don't have to put the year because we're already in the year folder. Bada bang, bada boom. That's how that works. I'm going to hit OK again and get inside. And here is where we start to put stuff. So the first thing is going to be assets. This is where all the footage and stuff's going to go. We'll have a final output so that we know exactly where the finished project's going to go. And then program files. So program files, that's where your Premiere Pro project will go, jazz like that. So I'm just using the arrow keys here. I'm going to hit enter, go into assets. The first one we're going to do is footage. We'll do one for music. And often there's going to be one for stills. This is anything I shot for the project, like if project uses still images or ones I shot to use for the video cover, thumbnail, stuff like that. So from here, like for a small to medium sized project, often that's it. But we may do more. So we might have a sound effects folder, we might have a graphics folder that would be stuff we made in Photoshop for this project, that kind of thing. Not photos we shot for it, but stuff that we made or grabbed off the internet. And then maybe like an intermediates. If you needed to round trip stuff through a VFX program, something like that, or do some render passes, you might need intermediates. But generally, it would just look like that. Pretty clean, pretty easy. I'll jump into footage real quick and show you how I organize that. And don't worry, by the way, at the end, I'll have a graphic that shows all of what all of this looks like in one go. But it's just a little easier to understand if I'm doing it. So let's keep going. So if this was a small project, I would just grab my footage and stick it in here. It's the footage folder, right? So I just come here, copy this, put this in here, boom, done. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, whatever. However, and that's great if it's a single project where you have one camera, you shot it on one day, like this video here, right? Not super complicated. But if you shot on multiple cameras, I like to organize this by the memory card. There's a few reasons for that, which I'll get into as I'm doing it. So, let me go back in there. So let's see, grab everything. Let me just delete that. Okay, so I would do a memory card. So I'm going to say camera A, memory card 1, something like that. Now, for me, because I'm tend to own my cameras, I'll just put the name. So like this might be, uh, you know, A7S2, and this is going to be number 1, you know. And then the second one from that day is going to be A7S2 number 2, so on and so forth. Maybe I shot drone stuff. Maybe there was a GoPro. Maybe there was a camera B. So maybe there was this other model of camera. Put it in like that. But this way, this can store everything that happened that day and organize it in a way that's very, very easy to come back to and reference. Like, oh, the GoPro footage, boom, it's right there. If there was, 2 memory cards worth of GoPro, um, there we go. If there were multiple GoPros, this could be GoPro A and GoPro B and that type of thing. You get the idea. But we're organizing all of these, and however many memory cards were shot on that card that day, we add them in here. So another reason why this is really good is because if you're using an offloading software like ShotPut Pro, there's been some other competitors and stuff like that, but the main industry standard one is ShotPut Pro. That program, when it offloads, it offloads your footage, and then it does a checksum to make sure that absolutely every bit in that file is perfectly copied. It does that with a batch, and that batch is a memory card's worth. So this works for big feature film stuff, production. It also works for just you out there with your DSLR. This expands or contracts to meet whatever project you're working on. But either way, everything stays really, really organized. So what if you shot over the course of a couple of days? Okay. So if that's the case, imagine these aren't here for a second. Let me make a new folder, and I'm going to say day 1. I usually like to name it like, I'll put the date. So it's going to be 01.27, and I'm going to say lake, boom. So here I'll drag all this stuff in there. And now we've just added one folder layer. But what this allows us to do is add a day 2. Let's see, this is 1.28. If this is a 3-day shoot, a week-long shoot, whatever it is, inside of this project, in the footage here, this is infinitely expandable out to whatever your needs are. And you can just keep going, adding days inside each of these, adding memory card folders and all of that. But the other thing is that, again, it stays simple. If all we needed was to one camera one day, we just stick it in here. Boom, you're done. Cool. Any questions on that? JK, this is a video. Stills folder. I'll hit on this stills folder because this is one that's a little bit special. Because inside of here, I shoot all my photos in RAW, so I make a RAW folder and a final output folder, and I may also make a program files folder. Now that seems like a lot, but bear with me. So when I shoot the raw images and I'm dumping them, I put them in here. Inside of there, I can do the same thing, like, multiple day. I could just, if it's just one memory card, put it in there. If I need to add multiple memory cards or add multiple days, it expands for all of that. But then when I edit everything in Lightroom, I make a new Lightroom catalog, stick that in here for it, and then when I actually render out the final JPEGs, they go in final output. Okay, so that gives me a whole nice little organized world to live in here just for photos. Boom. Okay, so music, everything else, pretty self-explanatory. You get the pattern though, and you can expand everything out as need be. But usually all the other folders are a lot simpler. So next, program files. Let me jump in there. So here is just where, if this is Premiere Pro, that's probably the most straightforward one. I just put the Premiere Pro project right in here, okay? And also, I'll usually put one for backups, and then I'll tell Premiere Pro, hey, when you do an auto backup, stick it in here for this project. And that's really, really helpful. DaVinci Resolve is a little more complicated because it stores everything in a database, and that's nice for project switching. That's really fast, and you can jump between projects really easily. It's all in its own little world, but saving out a specific project is hard. So what I do is at the end, when the project's finished and the client gives it the go ahead, I export a version of that project and I stick it in here, because then whenever I come back to this in the future, even if that whole database of projects got lost somehow, I have that project exported. I can import it again into any Resolve database, and boom, I got it back. And that has saved my butt before. So always make backups. Always co-locate the project with the footage. Okay, it's hard to marry those again in the future if you ever need to go back and update something, make a new version, whatever it is. Cool. Last is going to be the final output. So here, let me just, I'm just going to grab some, I'm just going to put a file in here. I'm going to give you an example of how I name a file. So let's just imagine this is a finished project that I exported out of my editor. And what are we going to do? So I'm going to go my cool project. I can spell. And I'm going to go final. Okay. And that's a cue to myself and any other normie coming in here that this is the actual one I want them to do. If there's multiple versions, okay, I'm going to go, like, I mean, multiple deliverables. I'm going to say this is the HD one, okay? And then I'm going to copy here. And then let's edit it, okay? And then this is going to be the 4K one, right? And then let's see. And then this one, maybe we made an Instagram version one. So I'm going to say this one was the vertical version. This kind of thing. But naming stuff, obviously the word copy wouldn't be there. Blah, blah, blah. You get the idea. So whenever you get here in the future, this is all that you see. Is like you come into this project, I can go to final output, and boom, everything is there. I don't have any drafts. I don't have final version 2, final version 3. None of that. We keep this clean. Now, you're wondering, okay, well, maybe you do need to use drafts, and that's a very important part of the workflow. So we have a way to manage that. So just imagine that we're starting over again, and the first thing I export is a draft. So what does that look like? Okay. So in that case, I'm going to say my cool project draft 1 or V1, whatever it is, but I include the word draft. This is a clean indicator to yourself, and this is a cue to your client that this is not final. So if they pass that on to somebody else who thinks it's final, you could say, hey, draft was in the name. That shouldn't have gone out on the 12 o'clock news or whatever. So we do that, right? Boom, they do some revisions. We do a version 2, however many, maybe we got up to V4, whatever it is. Once that's done, then make a drafts folder and hide that stuff away in there, okay? It's good to keep the drafts for reference, maybe, in case if you don't want that backup or to remember how it used to be. I'm a fan of not deleting things, but put it in a separate folder so that the happy path, when you're, tired and you're coming in here and you're like, oh, I gotta grab that file for somebody, you don't get the wrong one. You want to get the right stuff. So it should look something a little bit like this. Folders will get sorted to the top, but then I know, boom, 4K final. that is my project. Cool. All right. So I made this handy dandy little chart. Feel free to screenshot this. Whoa. As much as you guys need. But it would look something like this. So your storage device could be your computer, could be external. You'd have your project folders. Inside of those, you'd have your project, sort of with the date, the project name, and potentially the client name. From there, you'd have the assets, and the footage could be simple, could be complex, however you want to organize that. Your stills would have raw and final output. The actual final output for the whole project, you'd have your videos themselves, a draft folder with some drafts, and then your program files will have that project and the backups. I got some extra jazz here for those of you that have watched to the end of the video. My heroes. Is anywhere I am, if I just want something hidden and sorted to the bottom, I make a folder called ZZ_archive, because then in any operating system, it'll get sorted to the bottom, which is kind of nice to not delete something, but sort of disappear it, give other people a little hesitancy to go using the stuff in there. And then the other thing is if I want personal files of my own always sorted to the top, like in my own Google Drive, I prefix them just with numbers. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, something like that. And then the stuff I'm clicking on all the time is just always sorted to the top. I don't have to go try to make it sort with different sorting options or anything like that. It's just bada bang, bada boom, ready to go. So that is my take on organizing video files. Hope you guys enjoyed. See you next time. Bye.